The following podcast may contain spoilers.
Hello, everybody. We are back once more. As usual, it's been a while, but I am here. This is the Treading the Path of the Heaven podcast. My name is Jonathan Kinney, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host.
I'm Richard, and I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty excited about this one, too, because, I mean, this is a book with a lot of controversy in the web novel community, but like it's very polarizing, I guess would be a good way to say it. The people that like it defend it to the death, and the people that are like, no, it's too dark, it's too rough, I can't do it.
Yeah, like China itself.
Like the Chinese government have pretty vocal, loud voices as well. For you, those that might be in the know, you might have figured it out what we're reviewing this week, but we're going to be talking about the book Reverend Insanity, which I personally haven't read, but Richard has been giving me little tidbits as he's been going through, and it sounds like it's an intense book. I'm excited.
Yeah, it is. It is a book with 1,000 faces is the best way to explain it. So first and foremost, I just want to say I went into Reverend Insanity totally blind. Okay, I knew it had gotten banned, but I went into it with no background information, no spoilers, nothing. And let me tell you, this might be my new favorite novel.
Oh,
it might be my new favorite novel. If only it had an ending. But from what I read, especially like everything in that last book, everything in the way what is it, Guzin Ren writes? Oh man, he just in the beginning, there's a lot. When you start to read this, you're gonna find that there's a lot of you're gonna find the humor hard to understand from the main character. You're gonna find the viewpoint of Feng Wan and the idea of quote unquote demons hard to understand. It is very difficult to really conceptualize the main character at first. Like a lot of people are going to give up on that first book because they're going to get it ignored, annoyed with Feng Wan. We have some people in our Discord just like, yeah, I couldn't get past the beginning, first 200 chapters, whatever. And it's not like the first 200 chapters is bad. It's not bad at all. It's actually very well written. The thing is, the way he set up his novel, when you go back and you reread it after you understand the character of Feng Wan, you appreciate all of his viewpoints.
Okay. It's just like it fits the world, but not like it doesn't fit the way we see what the world should be, but like in context of this universe, it makes sense.
Reading this novel kind of demonizes the reader, if that makes any sense. As you're reading it, you gradually understand the idea of just how. What's the right word? Oh, it's so hard not to make it sound evil. Feng Wan is less so evil. It's more of he has very specific goals. He's a transmigrator, right? He's initially a transmigrator, or what they call in this one an otherworldly demon. He's not the only one in this world to be an otherworldly demon. Okay.
It's good when transmigration is known about. That's a whole different dynamic.
Yeah, they studied the Daoists and the Goo Masters have studied it. The Immortals have studied it. They look it up. There was a rank 9 Goo Master, one of the few to get to that point. That was an otherworldly demon, and only otherworldly demons can inherit his
his legacy, his
inherit, like, get his inheritance, right?
Gotcha.
But that's really important. The other thing in this, there are so many characters in this novel. There's so many, and every single one is important. Both the lowest of the low and the highest of the high. All of it is different worlds and different idea concepts and large, but it's all there. And since you go with Fangwan from the lowest of the low to the highest of the high, and he's done it before, keep in mind, you're going to get this quote a lot from Fangwan in the beginning. My 500 years of rich experience, right? He says that a lot in the beginning. 500 years of rich experience. One thing you got to realize, though, is that in and of itself is a joke Fangwan is making to himself, a joke for him as a character, not for you as a reader. At first, when you're reading it and you see him chuckle and, 500 years of my rich experience of 500 years has made me proficient in this, made you proficient in that, this, that, and the third. You realize is 500 years in the viewpoint of the true experts is nothing. It's a joke. You'll find Fangwan in deadly situations, and he'll just like laugh to himself in this horrible, awful situation he finds himself in with his life on the line because he doesn't care. And he's like, "Is this all I amount to?" It's funny because the thing about this main character is his goal isn't like to protect something. It's not power. It's not to save loved ones. It's none of that. His goal is purely eternal life. Now you go, Rich, that's common, right?
I mean, it shows up from time to time, yeah.
Not quite like this. The idea, the concept of eternal life in this universe is legitimately, even for immortals, impossible. It's not a thing.
You just get more longevity as you raise up in power, but there's still a limit.
To the point where your cells don't work, and to the point where you can't do it anymore, to the point where the heavens stop you from getting more lifespan goo. The only way of extending your lifespan without damaging your ability to extend your longevity. And longevity by itself means nothing if you can't, defend it. But that's a whole other conversation. I'll get over to the before I get into more of the story and how strange it is. I'm going to get into the way cultivation work here.
All right, I'm just going to throw out a quick thing here. We might have some spoilers for this book in this episode, so listen at your own risk. Richard really, really highly recommends this. He just called it his new favorite novel.
Please read it.
So, if you have any intentions to read this book at all, or you get them over the course of this episode, consider saving yourself from spoilers, unless you're the kind of person that gets encouraged to read by spoilers.
Also, let me trigger warning it, too. If you have a weak constitution, if you can't handle certain concepts like, I don't know, murder, death of children.
That was a little more. I was like, murder is a pretty wide net on this genre.
I mean, but when he means murder, like torture, being betrayed by the novel itself. Like, for example, say it's very George R.R. Martin where you'll get POVs of characters and you think everything's okay, but it really ain't okay, and they're not gonna have a good time, and it's going to go in depth of why it's a good time, but you realize he's not doing it just for the torture porn or the gore or whatever. He's doing it because he's showing you how this goo recipe works and why this is a requirement for what he's doing to create this goo or fix a problem he needs.
You've been talking about the goo. I mean, like my knowledge of that term is like the bug masters, like the ones like that fight each other in a jar.
Correct.
Okay, what's the more specific?
He's in the goo. I mean, this is a goo world. The cultivation is through goo. Even the body cultivation where you imbue Dao marks into your body to make yourself stronger, it's still using goo to do it.
I mean, I guess that's incredibly appropriate then. That like, if the cultivation method is a macrocosm of the universe, then like that's very appropriate for the setting you've described in the book so far. This being this very like dog eat dog, benefits at the max, or like benefits are everything kind of world.
I mean, yeah, 100%. But you got to realize, goo. I guess this is a spoiler because as you read it, Feng Wan initially has a pretty deep understanding of what goo is, but you realize, especially as people in their Dao increase, their understanding of how the world works changes. And this novel shows the POV of different experts and their understanding on their paths, understanding of goo, their past understanding of the heavens and the universe, and how it interacts with the other paths, because there's ranks of attainment level in this. Because it's not only just cultivation, there's also your understanding of the Tao. You can have a really high cultivation, and you could have no attainment level. So the things you do, the things you can create, your use, your manipulation of stuff to create killer moves will be substantially worse because you don't understand how the sausage is made. You don't get any
the foundation, the stable foundation. Yeah, okay.
But it's all like, it's not just branded in your mind, it's branded on your body, your soul, everything, your core. Like for example, what is the 1 second? This is a super. It's been 2 weeks since I finished it. It's a lot to keep in my mind, and there's so much to understand the idea of Tao. Okay, there's so many Taos. Now there's attainment levels, or quote unquote realms of the great Tao. There's ordinary, right, which is like the equivalent of like a mortal goo master in their main path. Like the 1 and 2s, slightly like superhuman. They have ordinary attainment. Then you have like quasi master or geniuses and super old mortal goo masters, everything 5th level and below, because a 5th level goo master is basically Superman. Think about it, like Superman.
Gotcha.
He's a 5th level goo master. He can still die, but he can topple cities, change nations, lead countries. That's a 5th level goo master. A 6th level goo master who are able to create or who meld heaven, earth, and human key perfectly to destroy their Dantian or whatever and create an immortal world inside their body, because that's the cultivation in here. You have a legitimate world inside your body, and you use that world to generate resources so you can buy cultivation resources, make goo that you use. You can have infinite level 5, like 5 and below mortal goo. You can have infinite of it. But immortal goo, each immortal goo is literally a sliver of the heavenly Tao. It's a sliver that can, and each one is unique. You can only ever have one of that type in the world, in the universe. Only one. If you're trying to follow a mortal goo recipe that is known, or you figured out one, or you had divine inspiration, and you're creating an immortal goo, you can fail and suffer a horrible blowback. You can die making goo. It's that intense cooking it. It's hard. And there's different styles too. There's the hairy man style of doing it outside among nature and heaven. And then there's the human style where you do it in isolation. It's harder, higher failure rates, all of it. But you're safe. You're not around things that can kill you. It's awful. Everything is hard in this world. And there's drawbacks and ways of doing it and ways of approaching stuff. But like, so
no, this is really fascinating as a system, because like I'm sitting here thinking about this. Like, if you're in a cultivation world where every single person, once they've reached a level where they matter, has the ability to basically refine their own resources.
Yeah, and you
within
have
themselves.
Within yourself.
And you have to. It's like it stops that traditional story structure of like, oh, the world's running out of resources because all the people at the top are mining everything that exists that's even halfway worth anything.
Or you'll have people looting the world to bring it into their own world and transplanting natural landmarks of heaven and earth that basically are like pseudo level 9 goo, right? They're a completed goo thing from heaven and earth, transplanting it into their bodies to use, but it uses a lot of your earth ki. So that means sometimes you need to take out your world and place it on the ground to absorb more earth ki, exposing you, risking your life.
Of course.
Or if you absorb a piece of heaven that's shattered, keep in mind, of the heavens, only black heaven and white heaven are left in the world right now. There used to be a heaven of every color, red heaven, yellow heaven, whatever. And they have, but they were shattered by the original human cultivator, at least in the fantasy book. Because in this novel, there's a book within the book. And as you're reading the book, you're reading the other book as the main characters reference pieces of that book. It's called The Legends of Rinzu. And it has all of the profundities of human path, of quote unquote human path, is in the Legends of Rinzu. And it's like a fairy tale told to children. Every person has read it. Every Goo Master family has read it. Everyone has done it. But only those at the highest have pulled profundities from the Legends of Rinzu and understood how to use it. When they talk, and the thing is, each story within the Legends of Rinzu is a parable of itself, but the parable, spoiler, it's true. The parables are real. Like, they're fantastical, but they're real. Every single one. Hope goo is a real thing. Strength goo, reputation goo, divine travel goo. All these goos that are in it, they're real things. Wisdom goo, they're real things at great cost. And because people don't understand, if you don't understand the goo correctly, if you can't understand the path of the goo, there's drawbacks and horrible things that can happen in the goo. You can create new goo based on your path that you figured out something. And like there's so much, and there's so many viewpoints. And unlike other stuff where like nothing matters outside of the immortal level in the battles among these immortals, no, because on the mortal level, everything happening on the mortal level is also important to the immortals. They're proxy
they're like,
battles.
oh, this person just figured out how to learn it. Okay. Oh, okay. Proxy battles. That's interesting.
They're proxy battles and politics and both the righteous and demonic path and the lone cultivators that are in the middle that choose not to do things and the struggles of doing it, the foundations of families, all of it. There's so much politics in this story. And there's active communication because everyone communicates using Yellow Treasure Heaven, which is a permanently neutral marketplace that was someone else's grotto heaven, right? So that's what they're called. When you become an immortal, your Dantean shatters, and you get for level 6 and level 7, they're called blessed lands. Blessed lands.
Okay.
They have certain sizes, they generate stuff, whatever. When you become a level 8 immortal, which is the highest level most people attain, to become a level 9, you literally become a venerable, an immortal venerable. And there's only been 10 in the world ever. In the entire time of existence, there's only been 10. There's only one per era. 10 venerables. Immortal venerables and demon venerables.
Okay.
But keep in mind the difference between a quote unquote righteous and demonic. At first, you're like, I understand demons. I get it. There's no difference. It's just how you handle social situations with people. Feng Yuan is demonic, but some would say later in his life, he is the ultimate righteous person, a true righteous human, which is what the title should be of the novel. The translation of Reverend Insanity is actually a mistranslation.
Oh.
You understand that he lived his life trying to be righteous at first when he first got there. The first 100 years, life was rough to this man, right? But really, you'll see. It'll go. I'm not going to spoil that. It's great. It's a great trip. Feng Yuan, you get Feng Yuan. You appreciate Feng Yuan. You'll grow to love. You might even say you'll love Feng Yuan because you respect his perseverance. This is a man that perseveres through all things. That is his one thing. He has no cheat ability. At first, when you think that his vital goo when he restarts again as a young boy again, because he starts as a child again, because he refined, because he died refining the spring autumn cicada, and that becomes his new goo inside of him, his vital goo.
Okay.
But you come to find out, I'm going to spoil this for you. Spring Autumn Cicada is not a cheat. It's not a cheat. It's not even that important. You know,
it's just moderately good.
It's just okay.
Yeah.
It's not even that. There's people with way better advantages. Feng Yuan isn't special. And you're going to see that in the beginning. Feng Yuan isn't special. Feng Yuan isn't even exemplary by Daoist standards. He's just a guy. He doesn't even have good natural gifts. The thing about him is that he's smart, but he's not as smart as certain people with other paths. Because as much as he tries, he'll never be as smart as what is oh man, I need to talk about paths too. Fuck.
This is like what you're saying is really getting me interested. Like, because like a lot of what you're saying, what interests me now about novels is like I've read enough cultivation novels that I kind of know the usual tropes and the usual things that are going to show up in one of these novels. So it's like, you know, what really interests me in the world building sense of these kind of books is like, you know, how does the book right away or like explain, you know, as cultivators get older, they get stronger. Like as they get stronger, cultivators get older. So like, why are we not having this overflow of cultivators at the top end? And like, you know, there's Coiling Dragon where they have the interstellar meat grinder wars literally to solve that problem.
They don't have that problem. They don't have that problem
like,
in this.
And that's what I'm saying. Like this book has its own weird solutions where it's like, no, you don't have to worry about that. The path of cultivation and goo making is dangerous enough that that's not going to be an issue.
But there's people who choose not to not do that. I don't need an immortal stuff. I'm not trying to compete. The way immortals compete isn't pure martial skill. It's not pure power. You know what it is? Economics. Money.
That makes sense. They can make cultivation words.
Every fight, you're using up your vital, what is it? Your vital essence. Your blessed land produces when you're level 6 green grape essence, which is worth a certain amount of primal shards, and you can convert money. You can convert money into the essence, right? But you can't convert your essence into money.
To money.
And you're over time, like I'm talking about, like every year you're generating a certain amount of orbs. Like if you're super low level with no down marks, no talent, you're maybe generating 5 or 6 of those orbs a year. One of those orbs is infinite primeval essence. You can use infinite amounts of level 5 and down goo off one of those orbs. You have unlimited primeval essence with one of those orbs. Which you'll notice at low levels, that's mind blowing. You can't even conception like when he's like level 3 or level 4, and he has like a certain percent, and he can only use this. I can only use this goo 3 times in this fight. So you see them because goo are like tactical nukes when you use them. They're insane when you activate it. Like, it's supernatural ability. Most people at level 1 and 2 and 3 are just fighting with swords and arrows and throwing rocks at people. And just because you can use a goo doesn't mean you're immortal. Some dude can sneak up on you and stab you and you'll fucking die if you don't have a healing goo. And even then, if you blow your brains out, there's no coming. You could be a level 5 goo master. I destroy your body, you're dead. There's nothing you can do there. If I sneak up on you and you don't have a protection up, you're dead.
No,
because the human's body is so weak.
This novel seems to have really unconventional answers to those novel tropes of like, I'm really excited about this. Like, it sounds like it's like it legitimately understands what the genre does and it wants to do something different and like tell its own story. So I guess it's kind of a tragedy that it got canceled.
Yeah. Guzin Ren is a really good writer. And while he was writing Reverend Insanity, he was improving as a writer because he had his plan in action of how the story is going to end from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And when you're reading it, you can tell, but his ability to craft and even like his parables, like everything about the legends, like I really wish I could get a framed copy of just the Legend of Renzu. And I would read those parables to children. They would get it. Like, example, there's a goo called Reputation Goo. I love the Reputation Goo short story. Let me see if I can pull it up because I really, it's so good, right?
Okay.
And they're talking about one of Renzu's children, right? And what the name of one of Renzu's children is also the name of one of the divine, what is it called? Great True. I know the names. So one of the physiques. There's a bunch of physiques, right? Each physique is named after one of Renzu's children. Renzu has a child for each physique that currently exists. Oh man, look at that. Legends of Renzu, all the chapters. There is 43 revealed chapters of the Legend of Renzu, but I know there's a lot more than that. But let's see his children. Renzu's children. There's Verdant Great Sun, Desolate Ancient Moon, Northern Dark Ice Soul, Boundless Forest Samsara, Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance, Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence, Great Strength True Marshal, which is my favorite, Carefree Wisdom Heart. These are Renzu's children. Those are also the physiques, the great wondrous physiques. Heaven does not want these physiques to survive, to become immortal, because their potential would be insane. So most humans born with these physiques, if they don't have a background or don't have help from a mortal to cultivate them and control them getting to it, their Dantian grows too fast. They go too fast, and sometimes the Dantian can't handle it. So before they hit level 5 and can break it and start the process, got enough human key to become immortal, they explode and they die. When they explode, their physique explodes, and it's like a nuke going off and kills everything around them. That's how crazy the physiques are. But I believe it was Verdant Great Sun, his first son, right? His first son liked to drink. He liked to get drunk. And he ended up getting into some stuff. And while he was drinking, and you come to find out this is how divine travel, right? Mm-hmm. Divine travel, which is a mortal goo, was born. Divine travel needs a certain number of certain types of famous alcohol to be processed in a human body to form. And divine travel formed in his body, and he just teleported him to a terrible place, like in one of the heavens, and he's about to die. It's real freaking bad, right? Mm-hmm. Now divine travel literally will take you anywhere, right? Will take you anywhere you want to go, except you can't control it. It is random. Divine travel is so random that if you had the divine travel goo and you used it raw, you didn't create a killer move to control it, create a killer move to use it for something unique. If you used it, There's a chance it'll randomly teleport you into a mountain and you'll die. Teleport you in between a solid object and you'll die. Teleport you into lava and you'll die. Teleport you into space and you will freeze to death. And so you literally can't control it. While he's there, he's like, how do I get back? What's going on? And I believe it's Wisdom Goo. I don't remember. Wisdom Goo speaks to him and tells him, I can help you create fixed immortal travel. Fixed immortal travel, which uses divine travel as a ingredient in the recipe to forge fixed immortal travel. And he does it. He uses like the light of the white seventh heaven and all the other stuff, and he makes it, right? And he wants to use it. The problem is, to escape, he has to know it exists. To go, you have to like perfectly picture the area. You have to know everything that's going down there for you to travel using fixed immortal travel. So that means you can't go to a place that you not perfectly known, because fixed immortal travel takes you to the exact spot you're thinking of, which means there can't be anything new there. Nothing can't be changed. They can't be someone
that came back and like swept like the room.
It can't be like a new piece of grass there or new whatever. You have to know. So he's like, you can use reputation goo to spread your reputation, have you be known, get more information to do it, right? Build a bridge to safety using reputation goo, right? And he tries to use that, and he puts reputation goo in his mouth, and he yells, and it isn't enough to build a bridge of reputation goo to get you to safety, right? But then the wisdom goo says, quickly, put reputation in your butt and blow. And he does, and it builds this giant one, because a good reputation is hard and difficult to build, but a bad reputation is very easy, very simple, very quick to build a bad reputation. Like, it's just little things.
That's a Chinese like point of view. That's amazing.
But like, each chapter is like that, but also like it ends up being true. Like attitude goos, like you need to wear attitude goo and lie to yourself to do something. Like, it's about your attitude. Like, how do I convince them to help me? Use attitude goo, have the correct attitude to approach these, whether it's a rock man, an ink man, or whatever, or you're looking for freedom goo. These birdmen are naturally free, and freedom goo forms around them because they're always searching freedom in flight, and you want to join them. You have to have the proper attitude to do it. But they can tell when you're lying, so you need to lie to yourself to convince yourself that you're not lying. So wear the attitude goo on your face, and then there comes a point where Feng gets the attitude goo, and he uses it to act in disguise and convince people and hide from himself, creates killer moves to change, to protect himself from detection. He'll blend in. He'll be a rock. He'll take on the attitude of a rock and use attitude goo with a killer move to hide from someone's sensory killer move. Like, it's so sick.
It's weird, but this book is actually giving me a lot of it has a lot of parallels to Stellar Transformation, oddly enough, which is like the weirdest book. Like, the tone of those two series is so vastly different. But like the building of a world inside yourself, the concept of like using your immortal powers to like hide as something as someone like tries to search for you, like all that shit is like very Stellar Transformations. That's awesome.
One of my favorite concepts in the Legends of Rinzu is when he's talking about, okay, so Verdant Great Son ends up going to, quote unquote, the afterlife, which is a place you could visit in the Goo world. You could visit like Lupo Valley and all this stuff where souls are, and he's drinking this water that calms the spirit. Keep in mind, these are one of the holy lands of soul cultivation. And keep in mind, soul cultivation is only being invented in the last like 8,000 years, because each path has a creator that spreads it. Like every path exists within the heavenly Tao, right? Every path that can ever exist exists in it. But finding that path is hard. Like, for example, the creation of Wisdom Path. Wisdom Path is one of the most highly sought after paths that exists, but it had to be created, right? One of the first paths that exists is Key Path. The original path that humans were using to do stuff was human path, but one of the first venerable was in key path, right?
Okay, and that's why we have a cultivation world, because they were the ancestors, so they set the tone.
And but now in the current stuff, key path's declining. There's not a lot of key path cultivation material that it's hard to do when a path starts declining because less people are practicing it, which means there's less of it in the world, and the heavens are producing less of the stuff. Less of the key path animals, the key path plants, the key path stuff when it's declining. But there's a lot of paths. There's a lot of minor paths. Like for example, Phantom Path is a sub path of Rule Path, right? Rule Path had its own venerable. Phantom Path, all it needs is somewhat of a high enough standard to create and branch Phantom Path into its own thing, or within the subdomains of Wisdom Path, there's Emotion Path, there's Illusion Path, there's Enchantment Path, but they're only minor paths because not enough of it has been created for it to branch and become its own thing.
So, like, if someone focuses on something, if more people start to do one of the minor paths, they can jump over the dragon gate, so to speak, and become a major Dao.
Major Dao, yeah. Anything can become a major Dao if you're talented enough. Which feels bad because there's certain people that Fangwa would run across and be like, he was really close. This guy, if he got to live, if he didn't run into me, he may have created Blade Path. He's done something more than what I remember him doing in my past life. This is incredible. It's a shame he's dead now.
Too bad I had to murder him. Oh well.
Yeah, but like he was on the edge, or like him dying, he was going to self-destruct. And his self-destruction was going to create a realm of Blade Path, and Blade Path materials were going to evolve, and Blade Path animals, and this valley was going to be the holy land of Blade Path because Disimortal self-detonated here, and his Dao marks was applied to everything. I love this point where like he was talking about how when he was immortal. When he was immortal, right, he was doing a dangerous job gathering oil at the bottom of the sea and using special. He went from the southern border to the eastern sea, and he was working there, and he fell in love with this mermaid woman, and he was poor and he was working. This dude wanted to marry his daughter and gave him bad information and corrupted. This is his previous life, one of his previous lives, gave him corrupted goo, and he dived down, and they're gathering oil, and gathering this oil is very freaking dangerous. Like in real life, it's very dangerous, and people use this oil for cultivation stuff. Zombies use it to keep their blessed lands from disintegrating by wiping this oil on. But the problem with this oil, even though it's super valuable, if it gets on a mortal's body, it imbues the black oil's Dao marks onto your body, which slowly but assuredly kills you. And once the Dao marks have been imbued on your body, unless an immortal comes down that understands and can see it, they can't really remove it. Most immortals can't remove it because they can't interact. Because once the Dao marks are embedded in you, you're like a material. So like the understanding of medicine and cancer isn't so much like just bacteria, whatever. It's the stuff embedding its Dao marks into your human key.
This is fucking fascinating because it's like the concept of a sword guy about to explode, and then it would make like a mini sword world where blade cultivators could come and harvest resources. Like the idea of like the death of this person creating, like rather than it like. It's almost a weird thing of this universe's like attempt to like fight back against entropy a little bit. Like, you understand what I'm saying? Like it's like the or is it more like it's robbing that area of what it normally would to create the blade key area?
I guess it's a little bit of both. It's invading it. Like I'm gonna give you an example. There's this. I'm not gonna give you concept, but there's this great. There was there was this immortal, and I will tell you more, but he was using the power of love goo plus calamity beckoning goo with his loved ones. to try to become a venerable, right? He just needed to pass his Tao blockade and pass his last tribulation. He would do it, right? And during his tribulation, he did a sword strike so grand it cut a line across the normal world, like the normal world, the Central Plains, so long that it was a giant valley going across the Central Plains. A lot of people died, but we're not going to talk about them.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people die all the time.
Yeah.
But his sword Tao marks from that strike started creating like swords, like it's level 5 sword sheath goo, a goo that never existed before, evolved there. An insect changed, and normal insects can sometimes, depending on the area, evolve into a goo.
Ugh.
And that, or animals can evolve into a goo. And just like it became like a holy land of sword cultivation in that general area, and sects would show up, and tribes would show up, and people would go there seeking stuff. And it's really dangerous there because you have sword path animals appearing where they're great, or like there might be sword path beasts or sword path trees. And they explain these life forms in great detail. Like you could build all the flora and fauna of an area because the world is set up the world so cleanly. You start to understand what would be in an area, in the interactions, what likes to roam around in Black Heaven, or the concept of what a luck path animal might be. You get an idea of what they are, and you can hear the description of an animal, and you're like, that's definitely luck path. Definitely a luck path animal. I'm certain of it. And
that's awesome, man. Like world building to the point of being able to use like predictive knowledge. That's awesome.
Yeah, the characters are so good too. I haven't talked about the character. There's not so even, much,
except for like Fang Wan, yeah.
But like, I have to talk about Fang because when I talk about other people, it might spoil things. Oh, it's so hard.
Well, I mean, I think you definitely want to do an actual full Knights episode on this one at some point, right?
I definitely do. I want to talk about so much stuff, and there's only like 5 volumes, but only volume. What is it? What volume actually finished? No, it was 6 volumes, but volume 6 starts like a quarter of the way through on like the worst time to stop. Oh my god!
Oh no!
I wish I could write the Xi Jinping and be like, please unban this. Like, he's working on a new thing now called Infinite Blood Core, but the main character isn't quite as
pragmatic
as Fang Wan. I remember when
with that in mind, where would you recommend people stop if they don't want to catch all the way up to the worst part to catch up to?
I would still read all of that because it's so good.
All right, there you go.
Like, volume 6 might have been my favorite because volume 5, the beginning of volume 5, the first half of volume 5 is a little bit slow. Because this is after a big event happens. Giant event happens. And he starts going into these things called dream realms and really, truly exploring the profundities of Dream Path that started showing up about, 400 years earlier than it was supposed to. And using Dream Path to increase his attainment levels and seeing the POV from the quote unquote one of the dukes took the prophesied great dream immortal venerable under his wing because fate dictates that this girl is going to be great dream immortal venerable, and I defend fate and I make sure fate follows the way it's supposed to follow. So I'm going to take you, I'm going to be you, and I'm going to help you, move forward on this path. Oh my god. Oh yeah, dude. Remember they used to So remember, like, what is it? Music and sound cultivators. There's a character in this, and you get a POV of a sound cultivator, and it is a real sound cultivator, and his songs and his singing and all of this part of his both his battle and also his Dao, his killing, his defense is all music based. And it's not just like a zither, it's his singing, and it's fantastic. There's an information path Daoist where he can do damage because he has a sharp tongue, literally a sharp tongue, and he speaks words to empower himself, and he communicates to give himself strength. And like he's fighting a guy, he's like, "Why are you talking?" And at the same time, he's talking at this guy, and he's explaining to this girl he's helping. He's like, "This is how my path works. I have to communicate. As long as this idiot doesn't realize what I'm doing with this killer move." Because there's another thing in these battles. It's a mystery between both of them because they're both probing each other to understand the limits of their killer moves and of their offensive killer moves, limits of their defensive killer moves, the limits of their battlefield killer. All of these killer moves is a combination of a bunch of stuff and how many thoughts it uses for them to activate this killer move and how long it takes and the ranges and all this other stuff. So think about like a Hunter fight where you figuring out the rules of someone's ninja battle.
Okay.
That's this every fight.
I was thinking like JoJo's stand, but Hunter, that's intense.
It's like Hunter or JoJo's where you have to understand, but instead of like, figured out what this stuff. People are also, not only are they trying to decipher, and Wisdom Path guys are the best at this, decipher and break down how your move works so you instantly counter it. People are also reinventing the way their moves work while they're fighting you to counter your counter or baiting you by using this move so they can secretly build up enough thoughts to do it, because thoughts is the realm of the wisdom path immortals, and sometimes they're skilled in deduction. Sometimes the wisdom path immortals skilled at protection from deductions. Sometimes the wisdom path immortals skilled at combat. But what they're the best at is gathering and using large amounts of thoughts. And the way you think and the way you deduct is you create a bunch of thoughts in your mind and you clash them into each other. And the clashes generate ideas. And these ideas are how you use things. But you can destroy it. And like if you try to generate too many thoughts, you can turn yourself deaf and dumb. You can turn yourself dumb. You can just not do it. But the generation of thought and wills on these concepts of wills are something that like the living can do. You're gonna come there because Fate Goo was damaged by Red Lotus Demon Venerable. Certain things outside of the realms of Fate exist now. Like, for example, souls can leave where souls are supposed to be. So Soul Path exists now because Fate has been damaged. Or the zombies exist. And there's certain immortals that have reached the end of their longevity and are searching for ways to get back to fix their longevity problem, or an immortal that's been in a battle and their body's so injured, or like for example, a time path immortal. Like I'm gonna bring up one of there's this fire path immortal, and she is a great grandmaster, which means she can emulate other paths using her main path. Like, she's a fire path. Once you're a great grandmaster, you can start to like, I create a fire path move that emulates the profundancy of wood path or emulates the profundancy of water path.
It's like the concept of like it's like the Dao birth concept in Desolate Era.
Yeah.
Where like you get so good at being a sword that it gives birth to like your version of like sword water and sword fire.
Pretty much.
Like, where it's like you are fully a master of the Tao of fire because you understand fire through the view of swords.
Pretty much, yeah. So they could do that, whatever. But she ends up, apparently some stuff went out and she got a time path injury. And you later find out what she was trying to do. She was trying to track down this inheritance for families. Like this family's had a hidden grotto heaven from their the guy who founded their family and founded whatever, but he's hidden it away, and he was like, the person who finds his missing daughter will inherit everything from me, but no one could find the daughter at all. And he thought she was dead. No, she wasn't dead. She actually fell in love with a stone man. And that's a whole other deep story. Like, every little piece of information you get in the story is important. It has a background, which is why it's hard to talk. And I'm not going to go further with that because that is really interesting.
Every single thing you're talking about, it pulls you into like 5 other tangents that you want to tell. It's amazing. But this book's living in your head. It's great.
He was a time path. He was a rank 8 time path immortal, and 8 is like the limit. And he's been around a long time, and he's mastered day goo, hour goo, minute goo, his vital immortal goo that he created by himself, like from scratch, never existed before, generates year goo and attracts year beast from the river of time. Because keep in mind, river of time goes to every single blessed land, real life, whatever, which is why you notice people's worlds are faster, because they have their own tributary of the river of time within their world. And the more advanced your world is, the faster it goes, right? But the faster it goes, that means the faster you get tribulations. Every X amount of years, you'll get a lower than whatever. But the better your land, the faster you get tribulations. The harder it is to recover, because tribulations damage your world. Because tribulations is the heaven taking away gains. The nature of man is to generate gains. The nature of heaven is to distribute those gains, take them away, and give them to other places. So people who are being persecuted have the blessing of heaven. The tribulations are lighter.
That's fucking weird.
Things that's only really help strange. Them. But the people who are dominant have harder tribulations. And things are hard. It's how heaven works. It takes away gains and gives back disparities. That's what heaven works. That's how heaven works. So the
all right, better Richard, I've got a quick question. Did the guy who was the 8th level master of time, did he master the time it takes for an incense stick to burn goo?
Yes.
Because I think that's an important unit of time.
And incense sticks. But the great thing about this guy is, the reason why people love this guy and he was so rich is he did all this stuff, but he also mastered a way of slowing the flow of time inside your blessed land to be closer to the outside world, to delay your tribulation. And there's a lot of sometime path immortals can do this. Not all. Sometimes path immortals are only good at reverting time on a human, and they can only heal. They're not good at other stuff in time path. But he could slow it. And there's other time dudes that can do it, but he could do it really well. And he even, using his understanding of time path, created an ability called he called the killer move, using his ability called endless trouble, and he can delay and cancel your tribulation, but it makes it so your next tribulation is twice as difficult. And he's like, you really, she's like, you really shouldn't do this. This is a terrible idea. That's why I named it Endless Trouble. But
it's fine. Just cancel my next one and make the next one 4 times as strong.
Yeah. Just keep doing it. But keep in mind, the harder the tribulation, the more down marks you get from the tribulation.
Of course, yeah.
Which means you become more powerful, because each down mark magnifies your ability of that path.
It's really weird, Richard. The things you're saying to me makes me feel like heaven has eyes in this book, and that seems really strange in a cultivation novel.
Heaven has a will.
Because
heaven can think for itself.
Heaven's given back to the poor. It's rewarding people that go through hard things. This is not how the heaven I know works.
Heaven schemes against people across time streams, because you got to realize the river of time flows backwards and forwards. You can view things happening in the river of time that happen. And some moves are so powerful, they cross through the river of time to damage things in the present. Venerables are so strong, and they're playing on such a high level of like 29,000 dimensional chess that they made plans 30, 40, 100, 200,000 years in the past, affecting the present time in a great game between all of the Venerables. It's incredible. But going back to what I was originally talking about, because I want to talk about the Venerables, is she ended up getting a time path injury trying to invade this grotto heaven. You don't realize it's that grotto heaven until later. But it's made it so her body is aging at like 50 times speed. It's brutal. So she turns herself into a zombie. But secretly, she also knows how to turn herself out of she's so good with fire that she found a way to not only create a phoenix rebirth where she can turn herself both out and into a zombie at will.
That's really
Most
good.
zombies are trying to figure out a way to turn back into a human. She already knows how to do that herself.
She's just, I'm gonna chill as a zombie here while people don't realize I can just be me again.
Yeah. And she only ever does the other thing when shit is real and she needs access to all her faculties. Because the downside of being a zombie is, one, your blessed land breaks down. Over time.
Yeah.
Like, we have to use that black oil that he was gathering to apply it or whatever. To try to slow down the breakdown. Because you what happens is when you're dead, usually when you die, your blessed land or your grotto heaven or whatever opens up to the world. A land spirit or a blessed a land spirit, or the grotto heaven version of it, a heavenly spirit forms, which is based off your final will, what you believe, and it is immortal. It lasts as long as your world exists and survives. Because after you're dead, your blessed land still goes through tribulation, the same amount of time. Based on the same amount of time, the tributary of time, and your land spirit has all your attainment levels and all your stuff that you were when you died. And as it goes through tribulations, the land itself acquires more down marks and gets more powerful, whatever. It just can't generate any more. It can't naturally generate any more of the primeval energy anymore. But whatever stores you have, if you've been alive for 1,000 years, you might have hundreds of millions of storehouse, so they could just go for 100,000 years, where some people's entire family, all of their children, whatever, hundreds of thousands of generations have existed inside of their blessed land, and this is the only world they've ever known, and they don't know how to leave, and they've just been trapped here, and this is just their world now. Whole civilizations exist like that.
What if the whole world is nothing but the Dantean of a cultivator?
Yeah. Except you get to see this, and our main character gets to invade and take it and annex it, because people can annex people's blessed lands and grotto heavens if they have enough attainment level. Now, usually when you annex it, the land spirit dies, and usually to annex it, you have to get become the master of the grotto heaven, which means you have to fulfill the final grudge or thing of whoever died, because that's land spirits. One can't lie. Land spirits cannot lie. They can only ever tell the truth, and they are driven by a final grudge or a final thing they care about, and that's just all they are about. And that kind of affects their personality and their goal.
That's very cool. Shit. That's so cool. I want to leave behind a fucking legacy and will when I fucking
dude, it's
automatic legacy leaving behind in this world.
That is true, but they're also wills. You could be dead and you could have left a will so powerful that it continues to exist and wait for the thing to happen, and it can think and do stuff. But a will thinking eats at the will because it can't replenish itself because you're not alive anymore.
Well, so you got to spin those thoughts, right?
You got to spin your thoughts, but spinning a thought on a will, thoughts or the life of a will, and a will having to think eats at the will until the will disappears.
That's awesome. Like, it checks out because it's like there's so many things in this novel that line up with the way normal cultivation novels work, but it has its own very unique explanation for why that system works that way. That's like very unique to this world, and it's like I'm fascinated by this. I might have to bite the bullet and actually I think I read like the first 10 chapters and then
you gotta
started reading another book. It wasn't even that I wasn't interested. I just started reading another book and it killed it.
There's a point in the story where you get stuck, like in each volume, because the volumes are very build, payoff, build, holy shit, payoff, build, what the fuck, payoff.
Gotcha.
And you need to, oh my God, I can't, dude. And the thing is, there's so much. I'm not even 1% of 1%. And there's so much to talk about. There's rules for annexing land, annexing blessed lands. There's rules of dealing with stuff. There's a whole point where you follow the POV of Fang Wan's enslaved brother, where he's enslaved in the blessed land of in a hairy man blessed land, but he's not even in the blessed land itself. He's on this thing called Black Hair Continent, where he slows into slavery for the city mayor or whatever, right? You have to do with his POV of being enslaved and rising up and getting his freedom and fighting wars and being immortal, all within the blessed land. Of Fang Wan's running around outside the blessed land, in the blessed land, making deals with the land spirit, going out, doing shit, wars being fought, and he's fighting like whole thousands of years of civilization are happening down here, but like normal time is happening out here, and you're getting both at the same time. And that's just minor. And it happens. There's parts where Fang Wan starts to create clones of himself, and the clones live their own lives. He uses a few of them to infiltrate like grotto heavens, so he can get the inheritance and then annex it later to the main body. But like each one has their own person. Like he gives them, they're still Fang Wan, but they're isolated Fang Wan, and they acquire their own personality and eventually name themselves to be different than the main body. And at first they don't, it's just like, it's Fang Wan, but it's my time path clone. It's Fang Wan, but it's my information path clone. It's Fang Wan, but it's my transformation path clone. It's Fang Wan, but no, they become their own people. And you get to see it from their point and see the sacrifices of the, oh my God.
That's awesome. There's a lot to this.
It's so good.
Well, all right. I think everyone here has gotten the general point, which is that they should go read this book.
Please.
Like we said, we're probably going to do a Nights on this one, maybe after I've read it, because I'm interested at this point.
Please, it's so good. I didn't get the chance to talk about my favorite Venerable, and he barely shows up. Everything about him is so good. Reckless Savage Demon Venerable is.
Oh my God, the name.
He the thing is, right, he should be Reckless Savage Immortal Venerable, but Demon sounds cooler. Is why he went. He's a shonen main character. He's a shonen main character. And it's so cool. He's so cool. And you only ever get to see vestiges of the things he's done and the scratch marks he's left on the world and the profundity in his scratch marks, the path he's walked. And keep in mind, he's the fourth in Savage Demon Venerable. Like all of his moves, all of his techniques that he leaves in his inheritance are so fucking cool. And Fang Wan's transformation path clone inherits like Reckless Savage Demon Venerable's trademark ability that he leaves. Just one of it. It's one of his abilities. It is not even his best one. He just leaves it because it looks cool. And you have this awesome glowing like cape and like out the back. And he's like, a real man should look like this, and all this other stuff. And the wheel of Reckless Savage Demon Venerable speaking to Fang Wan and explaining it, and he's just like, oh my God, dude. He it reminds me of if Kamina grew up in a savage land and became the strongest being that could exist and left an inheritance from Jingatapa Gurren Lagann.
I'm just just imagining him saying all that shit when they talk about the man who's done all that. They're talking about me.
Yeah. That's the kind of guy Reckless Savage Demon Venerable is.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, no, those are always like the best characters. It's the Nishinoya from Haikyuu. It's the I'm excited. This sounds like it's going to be a good ride.
Oh yeah,
and I'm honestly I'm in the market for a new book because I just caught up to my latest read.
Please, guys, I can't say I'm over here sweating because I'm so. Oh man, I can't even talk about awesome. Red Lotus. Red Lotus is so good, and you only get a touch of it because you got to realize the spring autumn cicada that's within Fang Wan is actually the giant master stroke of Red Lotus Demon Variable from what is it, 200,000 years ago? But he's made plans within plans over multiple lifetimes that he himself has lived using the spring autumn cicada, and plans within plans for Fang Wan to use in his time. Dude, I can't. The mystery amazing. And who like and you discover like what like of the first 5 chapters, there's actually one bad guy. But it's not even like you don't even realize it's the bad guy till you go back and you read it and you're like, oh shit, I get it. I get who the opposition is. And it's not something as dumb as a person or a civilization. No, it's grander than that. It's so good, guys. Please read it. Get over it. I know some crazy shit happened in the first one, and I know Fang Wan's gonna irritate you, but give him a chance. Learn to love him. You're gonna love Fang Wan, I promise you.
All right, there you have it, folks. Read Reverend Insanity. I know I'm gonna. And then we'll get a night's in. A little bit of business for the podcast. If you want to reach out to us, I would normally give you like emails and stuff, but I'll be honest, I don't really check that. So if you want to reach us, probably go to the Discord and hit us up in there. That's probably the most reliable way to reach us, to be honest.
You can tweet at us. Check the Discord. I check the email from time to time. I haven't been as great as I'd like to be, but if you see the email, I'll get to it. It might not be quick, but I'll get to it.
That's tiger.rollercoaster@gmail.com.
Yep.
And thank you to all the people that support us on Patreon.
Yuki Okami,
and James, thank you so much for your support throughout all of our podcast. And all of you who help keep our community alive and active in the Discord. We appreciate you all. But
I just checked the email, and the first email that I see here from August 11th. Are you guys going to review Reverend Insanity? ? Hell yeah. The answer to that is hell yeah.
Turns out we can confidently say yes in this case. But I forgot what I was supposed to say at this point. Yeah, my mind has gone completely blank. But thank you guys so much for your support. I think our next episode we're probably going to do 9-Star Hegemon Body Arts, a full Knights review, at least for what's out right now, since of course it's not out. But anyone who's keeping up to it knows that some major shit has gone down in the past 100 chapters or so.
Oh yeah 9-Star, and I'm looking forward to doing our 9-Star Knights because a lot of stuff I want to talk about, and it's crazy how 9-Star just keep hitting, just keep banging, and it just keep hitting, and it's getting better.
I've got my cousin into it. He just keeps being like, "Oh my god, it's crazy how like go around as like Iron Man," and I'm like, "Yeah, he is.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, that's why we've called him Cultivation Iron Man for a long time now."
Yeah. Wait till you see, dude. Your cousin's gonna be mind blown when you see some of the other suits that man puts together.
I know.
Oh,
he's a hero. He's the hero we deserve and need. But I guess that's gonna bring us to our final segment. As always, we didn't have time for that. Richard, what did you not have time to talk about this time?
Oh man, I didn't get to talk about all of the different alternative humans. You're gonna talk about how cool the Inkman city actually is, and all of the Inkmen are like awesome. You're gonna talk about the Mushroom Men, or or like the intricacies of how stone men breed, how stone men only have males, and the way they breed is they break off pieces of themselves, but they need strong souls to breed, which means they sleep a lot, because sleeping is how you, like, a stone man moving around depletes their soul, right? So they have to sit down and sleep, and sleeping is how you restore your soul, but it's not fast. So if you have guts goo, you can generate, it instantly restores your soul and enlarges it, which generates like way more stone men.
And we didn't even get to talk about?
Oh man, I didn't even get to talk about the crazy breeding / fertility strategy that Great Love Immortal Venerable creates to create more on-demand immortals, because he needs more workers to manage his grotto heaven, because grotto heaven is so large that he has a hard time.
It's like the equivalent of the people that are like, I want to have 9 kids so I can have a baseball team.
No, he uses he uses the profundities of human path. It goes into detail where he creates this quote unquote temple to fertility for the whatever, but they go there. What he's actually doing is he's using a bunch of goo killer moves. There's one to stimulate the creation of fertility, one to ensure the health of the child, the 2 children, one abortion coup to kill one of the children, one of the twins, and then force the vitality into the surviving child to make them stronger. Another using one of the cultivation techniques that Fang Yuan discovered back in volume 1, where it requires twins to create these 2 yin yang cultivation stuff that increases their their Dantean potential. So because if they cultivate together, they can inject the primeval essence into one another to increase their maximum potential from what they are, which makes them cultivate faster. But he does that in the womb, then aborts the second child and gives all his life force to the main child, and it comes out stronger with perfect cultivation potential. And he does it automatically, and no one knows that he's doing that. None of the people living in the cities within his stuff realize that's what's happening.
God, that's awesome.
It just happened that they always come to term, and none of the women die in childbirth, and all the children come out perfectly healthy with no defects. Using all of that shit. Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, I think that's a wonderful note to end our podcast on. Thank you all for listening, and this has been the Treading the Path of Heaven review of Reverend Insanity. I hope you have a good week.
Yeah, don't think too deeply about what I said. Okay, guys, just read it. and there's going to come a part where there's a bear in a cave. Get past that. Don't let that stop you. The bear in the cave. Get past the bear in the cave.
I don't know what that means.
It's worth it. Trust me. It's not that bad. You later you'll laugh at that. You're like, oh, that's kid shit.
I don't know what that means.
Y'all have a good one.
Tiger Roller Coaster Productions. Tigers are scary. You try to get off.